These are 5 truths that I've learned from putting on a local career fair. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Construction Corner podcast. I'm Dylan, I'm your host, and today, guys, we're going to talk about really 5 truths and just my experience on putting on a local career fair and what this can ultimately mean for you, your firm, and how you go about things. So, first and foremost, you are not doing enough. Look, if you want to attract people, it is going to take way more effort than you probably think it's going to. If you want to put on an event, a career fair, it's going to take a lot more than you think. Here locally, I'm a member of like the county business council, the couple chambers, one for the city, one for the county. Just gotten very active in a lot of this stuff and all around this whole thing called CTE, right? Career Technical Education. And with this emphasis on CTE, everybody's talking about it, right? There's a lot of hype around CTE, putting people in the trades, yada, yada. What I'm actually finding is that's all bullshit. Nobody actually cares. They think it's good, but they're not doing anything about it. They're not pushing people into an event. Like, I went and rented the fairgrounds, so neutral site, talked to all the high schools, get all the high schools in the county to show up. On top of that, got, now businesses to be there, went to a bunch of the local community organizations in the county. And what I'm finding is that nobody followed up. Nobody did anything. And at the end of the day, it's super frustrating because nobody actually cares about this whole CTE thing. Now, I am like Sisyphus and pushing the rock up the hill. I'm going to make this happen. So what I've ended up having to do is to go around to a lot of local businesses with a flyer and say, hey, we have a career fair, and some of it's been on short notice, right? Like, hey, I know it's only a week, a day, couple days beforehand, but like, will you be there, please? Again, I'm trying to help your business grow and put people into it. We're doing this at no cost. Like, yes, I might hire somebody out of it, but at the end of the day, this is all about putting kids in the community in touch with businesses in the community, and to not have those businesses complain about not having people. So really, if you're trying to, and this is all about recruiting, hiring, attracting talent, keeping them in your local community, keeping them employed, keeping them motivated, is that frankly, you're not doing enough. Like, there is no way that you are doing enough going around and talking to businesses. And even what I've found in being on a chamber board is, so here our local new economic development director sent out apparently an email to a bunch of businesses asking for feedback on it, right? And whatever, let's just say 200 emails got sent out to businesses and only 20 responded. And so my response to that was, well, I never saw it. I'm a local business here in the community, and like, we did not get the email. And then in that same board meeting, 30% of all board members also did not get the email. And it's like, you have a data problem. It's not necessarily that you're not getting responses, it's you have a data problem. And then the other thing in these small towns is, like, you're just trying to take the easy way and send an email. You need to actually get out or get on the phone and call all of these businesses and take a real survey so that you can have real data to make real decisions. And this is where a lot of people they don't have real data, they don't have real feedback, they don't have real anything, and are making decisions on the whims of the few, or the people that show up to a city council meeting in the middle of the day, or a supervisor's meeting at 9 a.m., right? Like, people have jobs, they can't go to these things. And so, they're not active like they probably should be, but at the same time, like, business still has to get done. You can't just spend your life in meetings. And so all this to say, in point 1 is, you're not doing enough. Like, there's no way you're doing enough to attract, retain, and recruit talent. And this is really just on recruiting, not to mention, retaining talent, but let's just keep it there. What I've also learned in this whole deal and putting on a career fair is, look, no one is coming to help you. There's nobody that is willing to help you. Nobody is willing to do any of this. Again, one of the chambers has sent some emails, which great, and others, they buried the flyer at the bottom of a long ass newsletter, and so nobody's gonna show up. The others didn't even send an email. The business council didn't even put out an email for any of it. They ignored it, and it's super unfortunate. So again, what I've had to do is go hand to hand, drive around, shake hands, kiss babies kind of deal, and meet these businesses in their business, and, basically plead my case to come into this free event, right? I'm asking for your time and to help fill, the help that you need. And there's some businesses like, look, they can't hire anybody under 18, or they need training. And it's like, okay. And we'll get to the whole training piece here in a minute. But like, for some of those, like, can't hire anyone under 18 for a high school only career fair, totally get it, right? Like, that's fine. Others are like struggling, they have hiring freezes or things like that. And that I also totally get, right? No need to show up if you're not actually hiring. But nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to help. Nobody's going to send an email. Nobody's going to do anything for you, even if it's the thing that they claim to actually care about. They're not going to do it because their name isn't on it. And I don't care about my name being on it. No one else was going to do it. So I did. And that's it, right? So in future years, I might just rename it to benefit my own company, and it be all about my own company, because nobody else cared to do anything. But that's, at the end of the day, what I've seen from this is nobody's coming to help you. Nobody is going to do shit. And that's the way it is. And I see this in the professional organizations that I'm a member of. Like, people are members of them, but they don't do anything for the organization. The organization doesn't actually think of how they can help their members. And frankly, it's been just sad to see and be a part of. So the organizations that you do have people doing stuff, that you do have active memberships, like, be grateful for those organizations, because they are extremely, extremely rare to be both a part of and to see in action. Number 3 is you being busy is not an excuse. Like, look, you're always going to have stuff to do, and I get it. For some of these guys, I gave late notice, and that's on me, right? And others, they're just like, we knew about it, but we didn't plan for it, and now we're busy, and so we're not going to show up. It's like, then you should never fucking bitch about not having people ever again. I will put all of the people to your competitors, and I do not give a shit. So, like, this is where a lot of this ends up going, is you said you were going to be here. Now you're not going to be here. And I hope to never hear you complain about not having people ever again, because you're not showing up to the event and the thing that can help fill your pipeline, period. Right. And so, and to do this again for years to come, to then be a anchor, exhibitor, sponsor, whatever you want to call it, in years to come. And instead you've decided that, nope, not going to do any of this, not going to show up, not going to whatever. And it's a problem. So busy is not an excuse. Like, you're always going to be busy. You're always going to have other things to do. But if you don't make recruiting and retaining talent a priority, then, like, you're never going to have any talent. That's just how simple this is. And I don't know how to beat this in anybody's head any more than I'm doing right here and right now, and getting on the internet, and then as well as all the conversations that I have in person. And frankly, I've been this strong in person too with a lot of folks. So like, hey, you said you cared about this. You said you wanted this. You said that you were a supporter of it, and yet you're not going to show up. Or you said that you're a supporter of it. You're putting money behind it. You're doing press releases about it, but yet you're not promoting one of the only free events in the county for high school students, right? Pure, like, the youth, right? The next generation. You're doing all this stuff for 18 to 25, but you're not doing anything for the high schools. And so, or you're going to wait a year to do something, right? You're not going to put something on so they can work during the school year. And this is where it's extremely frustrating that you're not doing anything. You're not living in congruence with what you say you believe in. And so, which goes to, again, you're not doing enough. No one's coming to help you. And busy is not an excuse for not showing up to these events. And I don't care whether that's a business development event, right? A meetup, a golf outing, a play shoot, whatever, for the associations that you're a part of. Like, showing up to those things matters. People see that you're there. It really does count in you being there for the association and to go to those events. Which brings me to point number 4, is that you're not going out of your way and doing these things. You're moving into a place that you can gain more goodwill from your efforts in going to these events. Now, you can't just be a bump on the log when you go to these events. You need to, like, shake hands, meet people, talk, right? Not just stay in your little group, but actually meet people, introduce yourself, have conversations. That's what these things are all about. And so if you're not going to these things, like, your business is going to be what it is, right? You're going to complain about it that you have today, and you're not taking any action to correct it. So going to industry events, going to your local meetups, going to your board meetings for your association that you're a member of, like, all of those things do matter. All of those things are something that you should be involved in, and it's not going out of your way. It's being an active member, which is going to get you more goodwill, more business, more help, and doing it the right way and coming from the right heart. Like, you can't do that with the intent of getting something out of it for you. You do it with the intent of serving the organization. And when you give the intent of serving the organization, more things will come back to you because you've given to the organization will give back to you. That's how this works. So don't go in there self-serving, go in there with the intention to serve. And this is where a lot of people get it wrong. I sit on a lot of boards, and frankly, most people are just absolutely terrible about this. They I don't know why a lot of them do it, right? They're not coming in with any good reason to be there. And some of these are just like glorified party planners, and that's unfortunate. So other organizations are freaking awesome about putting on events. They've done it really well and get members highly involved. Others are not. And kind of lastly here is, it's not the biggest company that gets the best talent, but those that continue to show up. It is effort, not your size. Here's what I mean by this. So I was having a conversation with a contractor as I'm going around talking about the career fair, and they asked me, what companies in town are coming. I mentioned a handful of names, and they were like, well, those guys are, always getting the best talent. They're always, at these things. And it's like, well, those two are probably very connected, right? The company that continues to show up at career fairs and events and has a recruiter that is full-time to go and do all of this stuff is going to get the best talent. That's how this works. They continue to show up time and time again. They continue to support, sponsor, attend. And a lot of this, other than the person's salary, is like very low cost, minimal cost, free. Like, they just show up. They're there. They are part of the ecosystem in that upcoming talent, right? Whether it's pre-apprenticeship programs and graduation, whether it's career fairs, like, they are at all of it. And that's why they continue to get the best talent, is because they are there when people are looking for jobs. And the younger that they can grab them, right? High school, college, the younger that they can grab them and bring them into their organization, the more talent opportunities that they're going to have, right? Because frankly, for the most part in construction, people, like, depends on the company, but when you find a good company and you stick with it, most people do stick around for a while, right? 3-5 years, and past 5 years, you can't really expect much more out of people than 5 years. And so hitting 5-year milestones, and when you have companies that you have a lot of people hitting 5-year milestones, like, that's a very solid company. So when you show up again and again and again and again for years on end, like, yeah, no wonder your people are going to be good. Yeah, no wonder you're going to have a full talent pipeline. Yeah, you're going to get the cream of the crop. And because of that, your margins are probably a little better because your people are better. So you can win better projects. So you can pay them more. Like, that's how this works. You pay people better, you can get better talent. I mean, it is that simple. And my sixth thing is what I found through all of this is most people don't actually care. Like, you don't actually care. You're not out there doing anything. And frankly, like before this, like last couple years, I had not done anything in the community. When it's purely just Kowabunga Studios and talking about software and engineering firms across the country, like I did not feel I needed to be involved in the industry. And now doing engineering work, really connected to contractors, I can see how much they're hurting, how much they don't have talent, how little they're doing to kind of bolster their own ranks. So this is my way of serving the community, is like, look, you guys care about this. I want talent for my business as well. But, in the engineering world, we're a 100th the size of any given contractor. And so our work, basically is a multiplier on what you guys do, right? Like 10 of us equal probably 1,000 electricians. And so for us, we need, by nature of the business, fewer people than, electricians are needed in the field. And so with that, it's been my duty to go out and, join these organizations, be a member of the chambers, be active in the community. And what I'm finding is that, like, nobody really cares. They're there for their own couple things. They're not trying to move business. They're not trying to generate commerce. And frankly, businesses are the thing that generate commerce, that bring people into communities, that grow the population. And for the most part, like, you have just some anchor businesses within a community. Sparks, Nevada was not Sparks until Tesla moved in, a decade ago. Now it's booming, and like, there are so many electricians and people short in that community. Seattle wasn't Seattle without Amazon and Starbucks, Microsoft, and those kind of few big kind of anchor tenants, if you will, in town, to then spawn everybody else to move there, be there, and work there, right? Boeing's another anchor tenant in Seattle. So you have these kind of 3, 4, 5 big companies that employ, tens of thousands of people, and that creates the foundation of those entire cities. San Francisco, obviously had the wharf and the trading 150 years ago, 175 years ago with the founding of California. But they also had, here in more recent memory, you've got Apple, Google, Facebook, right, that employ tens of thousands of people up and down Silicon Valley. All the contracting companies, you have Salesforce, you have all the startup ecosystem that is San Francisco. So today you have a much different kind of basis of companies that are there, but these large institutions that do reside in San Francisco have helped to build San Jose, build everything in between. LA with movies, and again, a bunch of anchor kind of big businesses, and then some other ones that spawned around that. So when you look at your smaller towns and things like that, like Grand Rapids, Michigan has like 3 or 4 in that area of 500,000 people, between Steelcase, Wolverine, Amway, Meyer. Those are kind of the 4 or 5 big anchor tenants there as well. So for any given area, you really have that big employer that provides that baseline. And it can't be, honestly, the schools, the hospital, the county, the government, because then you have a incestuous thing in raising taxes, which means that business owners don't want to move there, which means that you're going to keep raising taxes on the people that stay, which means you're not going to have more money to go through the community. So, and that's what we've had here, is it's just a bunch of retirees, a few long-standing businesses, and a lot of government stuff. And so that's what the community ends up being made up of. And so those are the things that the community tries to empower is the government. So then you have even like marketing companies or others, doing basically government work, right? And everybody's living off the taxpayer. Like you need to have strong, independent businesses to grow the community, and then it'll be a makeup of what that is, right? You can go look at like the steel towns in the Midwest. They are representative of those steel mills. Hardworking people working long hours, and it's their company towns in a way. Not where the company owns the entire town, but I mean the majority of people in there are there because of one major business. And so I really implore you guys to think about being and how can you be that major business. Even like one of the companies here in town does work all over the country, right? You running a contracting business. And so for you guys, like, yeah, you may or may not do a ton of work, all the work, none of the work in your community, but to have it at reach, like we do for engineering services. We don't really do much here in the county, but we do stuff at reach, across the state, across the country. And that allows us to have a home base here where, like, frankly, I want to live. And to give me the opportunity to really give back in a community. But you got to think about you being that kind of anchor business where everybody wants to work. You're going to fill your pipeline. You'll have more people knocking down your door. You're going to grow a better company. And when you do that, the entire community becomes better because of it. At the end of the day, you've got to care more than everybody else. It's hard to carry that burden, but that's what it's going to be. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to be tired. You're going to be pissed off, but no one else is going to care. And so you have to, and you got to care for them. That's what it's going to take to make stuff like this happen, to empower the next generation, to get in the trades, to go to work for you, your company. That's what it's going to be. So that is this episode of the Construction Corner podcast. Until next time.